I'm ready.
It's streaming now. Oh, streaming now. Is the mic? JT, my darling. Look at my. Yeah.
Oh, sure, sure.
Here. Look at the mask. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on? Oh. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yup. Okay, ready? Hi, I am JT Belaford. We are here on this day due to the death of Monica Teresa Thompson. She is a caring aunt, a friendly sister, a loving mother, and also our amazing grandmother. She's devoted and will give up her time for the benefit of others. She flew all the way from New York to Minnesota twice in order to be there when my sister and I were being born. She remembers all of our birthdays and finds a way to be there and make every event special. She is always kind, and even in the toughest times, she always smiles. We all miss her very much. She would be very happy to see all of us, all of her family, right in front of her, to spend time for her as she has done with us. But even though we are all sad, I know my grandmother would be the first person to put a smile back on our faces. Though she is not with us in person, she will always be in our hearts. Please pass on my grandmother's happiness. We love you, Grandma, and always will. Thank you. Layla, do you have any words to say?
Good job, JT.
Anybody else would like to say a few words?
So I'm going to try to keep myself together as best as I can. First, I'm going to read what some of our family in Jamaica said about my mom, our mom. So this is from Angela Karen Hammond, whom my mom really just was a big support during her growing up years. And when we informed her that mom had passed away, I think she was just in shock, like we all are right about now. So she said, "Hey Rosie, just been taking some quiet time reflecting on your mom. I have vivid memories spending time at 55 Windy Way in Harbor View. Her healthy meals. It was she who made me a fan of raw sweet peppers. I never forgot her giggle, her laugh, very distinct and infectious. She used to take me on her travels to her fabric customers, very emotional. We'll call you when we have more time together. Lots of love." So this had me thinking a lot, because my mom was really an entrepreneur. She had her own fabric business, you know. She traveled around Jamaica in her, probably Aunt Sadie and Uncle Cuba may remember that. And she traveled around, and I didn't know anything about Carnation Market. I just knew I was going into Kingston with her. But she had her faithful customers. Those are good times, because I remember getting pepper shrimps. I don't know if a lot of you know pepper shrimps in Jamaica, but I would kill to get pepper shrimps. I don't know if I should be saying that like that right now. But it was a joy when we went to Jamaica. She always knew that's what we wanted, my sister and I would never share with Dania. And Dania would never share with me. She did not. So we had those good memories, and even as we became adults and we went with mom, that was our home, you know, and she knew everything about Jamaica. She would teach me how to drive in Jamaica. I didn't know Jamaica, but she would know which street to go on, turn left, turn right, Rosie turn here, Rosie turn there. And that's really how I eventually started to learn parts of Jamaica that I just never knew. Her first house was on Windy Way, so when Angela wrote this, it's true. She bought her home in Harborview, and that was where she settled for a while, and that's where I was born with my dad. Everyone talks about my mom's smile. I think that's really one of the biggest traits she had and things that people remember. She was always, always smiling. In the midst of things good, things bad, she always had a smile on her face. I wish I had that, because I'm not exactly the smiler all the time. But she brought that out in my sister and I think Dania really has that part of her personality and always been smiling a lot. And she did always cook healthy food because she never cooked with salt. So those who came by would look for salt and try to find the salt. But you know, she seasoned so well, maybe sometimes you didn't really need to go and looking for that because that was a big part of her life. So as she aged, I wanted her to live next door to me. She wasn't really living that far, but I just wanted her closer, you know? And so walking out the apartment now is going to be a different type of trip because she's right next door. And I want to hope that she had some good years. We were, I think, 5 years at where I am. I want to think that she was happy that she made the move. She didn't really want to make the move initially, but she believed in her kids. And anything her children wanted, she always tried to give us, no matter what. And when she migrated here, it was hard, you know? You had to come, start anew, figure out life all over again. But she never lost her smile and that way about her. And she gave us anything we needed. Always at every parent-teacher conference, even though we didn't want her to go. Just everywhere. Got us through college. Made sure we had a good life. So I wish this day just never came, would ever come, but it's here. But with the love and strength of everyone who's here today, my family, I'm so glad to see my uncle and my aunt, my cousins, my great friends who came to the hospital and just lifted me up to not let me dwell and stayed with me and called me. So it's one big happy family for me, really, with my friends, my current family who are here. And it means an awful, awful lot that you're here today because I think, I know my mom would be very happy and is very happy that everyone has come out to pay homage to her. So Mom, rest in peace. I'll be visiting you in Woodlawn because she always said you like to walk in Woodlawn. I do. I like Woodlawn. I like to look at all the... So now I have a definite reason to go and sit and just be with her. So God bless you, Mom. God bless you forever. Thank you.
So unlike everybody else, I can't use the mic. I have a teacher voice. And so I'm going to use the teacher voice. And I'm going to take it as personal privilege to call Mom Monica. I hung out with Monica a lot. Because Novelet and myself, Glenroy, my daughter, my brother, we sometimes had our Thanksgiving dinner with Mom. And we looked forward to going because the doors were always open and there's always something to eat. For the picky eater like my daughter, for the non-pork eater like me, and my friend's husband who is vegan sometimes, maybe vegetarian, she made a meal for him. We had good times, real good times, because Mom made us laugh. And when I say laugh, it's not, and I'm going to use the Jamaican word, it's not a fenke laugh. It's a whole bellyful kind of laugh. Because she would say the funniest things at the weirdest times. And you'd have to think, where did that come from? There's never a dull moment if you hung out with Monica. She was an avid reader. She read the New York Times more than I did. Read it cover to cover like my dad does. She read the Daily News cover to cover. But she liked what we call sub-literature. There is a subscription to, is it OK? People Magazine? What's the other one? Star. My daughter has been a recipient of many of those. If I go over there, she packs them. Donna, take this home for Jahal. We chatted a lot. So she knew politics, she knew sports. She knew that sub-literature like nobody else's business, because she could tell you when Harry met and fell in love and who was going to divorce whom in 2 shakes of a second. And then she got serious and said, you know what, this is trash. But it was good trash. Yeah. And so, like the family, I do miss her because I hung out with her because we had a date. And our date was cutting nails and polishing nails. It's a long-standing date. I would go over, we'd sit, and in the midst of cutting her nails and polishing them, magenta, whatever color I wanted to do, green and blue were just not her colors for her nails. She says, Donna, those are your colors. And those are my moments with her. Having sat, having listened, having spoken to her over time, I discovered that she had a gentle spirit. But amidst this gentle spirit was a stalwart of a woman. This short, this tall, arms open wide at all times. Monica, like Jamaicans will say, I'm not going to say bye. I'm going to say, walk good. I say walk good because you lived a well-lived life. You loved, you laughed, you celebrated not only yourself, the lives of your children and grandchildren. You lived your dash very well, because we all have a dash. And it's how you live that life from birth to death that makes the ultimate difference. Monica, walk good. God bless. Condolences to the family. We hope you live a full life like Monica did. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you do, it is how you do it that makes the difference. Do not cry, because grief lasts now, but joy comes in the morning. Thank you.
I'm not very good at this, so I'm gonna read something that I wrote. I'm a better writer than speaker, but I wrote this to Mom and posted it on the funeral website. So, but it summarizes what I feel. So I wanted to share it with all of you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. It's just heartwarming, and I'm so grateful. The family is grateful for the number of people that have come here today to honor our mother, because she deserved it. I wish I had told my mom more often how much I look up to her, how much I admired her. She was our very, very first role model. Your mother is always your first role model. And my mother, she was my first role model. I looked up to my mom. She was strong. And she was strong, but she was also very gentle.
She was a gentle woman, always kind. There were, you know, there were times when I would go with her places and I would see things that happened to her. Like, you know, if I would be walking with her in the subway, for example. Because my memories of my mother are from New York. You know, I came to America when I was 3 with Rosemary. Rosie was 8 and I was 3. So I was very young when I left Jamaica. So my memories of Jamaica, I have memories of my homeland, but they're limited. My greatest memories of my mother were here in the States. Sometimes we'd be at the subway, for example, and somebody would bump her, and I would, you know, I'd be like, well, you know, because the subways were crowded, not deliberately, and I would say, you know, how dare you bump my mother, you know, Mom, are you okay? And she would say, no, that Dania, that person probably didn't even mean to bump me, and you shouldn't react that way. My mother always chose kindness. My mother was a genuinely kind person, and she always looked at things in that way. Always look at the nicer way of looking at things. She would always try to teach us that. And that's something that I've always tried to take with me. So I wrote in this thing, my mother taught us the really, really important things in life. Having compassion, being empathetic, being humble, being grateful for the things you have, having dignity, and being kind. Those are the big lessons I remember from Mom. I remember her just very quiet dignity. My mom was a quiet person inherently, I think. Her incredible inner strength and her grit, like her determination. There was nothing that my mother, I think whatever she put her mind to, she could do. And I think she passed that to her children. And I try to pass it to her grandchildren. I wrote, I remember how gentle you always were, how loving. I remember crawling up into her lap if I had, you know, scratched myself or bumped my knee. And she would always hug me and say, you know, that's all right, darling, in our Jamaican accent. That's okay, darling. And she would hug me and just rock me like moms do. I remember that about her. And no matter how busy she was, and how much work she had or how tired she was when she got home from work, she always had time for me and Rosie. It was like we were the center of her world, and we really felt that. She made time on Fridays and Saturdays, especially on Saturdays, to take us. That was like our day. And she would take us to different places, the museums and the zoo or the botanical gardens, whatever, to enrich our lives, to make sure we were rounded. She really did go to every parent-teacher conference. Sometimes she was the only mother there. She was the only person there. And we'd be like, oh God, Mom, you know, like you don't have to go, but she would go because she wanted to hear people praise her children. Even if it was just to hear praise, it wasn't like we didn't have any problems. She just wanted to hear them say good things about her kids because it was important. Our grades were important. Our learning was important. And the types of women she was forming was important to her. She wanted us to be good women. And I wrote, you know, my mom also loved to laugh. So there's some, you know, that's been mentioned up here before. Mom loved to laugh. She loved to laugh. I would gather jokes from my mother because I didn't live with Mom. I lived in California. Just my job and school brought me to California, and it was not what I wanted. I never wanted to be so far away from my family, but that was the life. I felt I didn't have a choice with that. But I would call her and say, Mom, you know, I got this great joke for you, Mom. You know, you gotta hear it. And she would laugh. And Donna's right. It was always a big belly laugh. My mother laughed. She loved to laugh. She was my joke buddy. I used to play my material for her all the time. And she would just laugh with me. And I miss that. And I've tried to pass that to my kids as well, because I laugh with my children the way my mother used to laugh with me. So I wrote, my mom was a tough woman. She was strong. She had a lot of determination, but she was also incredibly gentle and kind and sweet. So it's kind of this contrast. I named my daughter after my mother. I named my daughter Layla Monica to honor my mother, because that's how much my mom meant to me. I wasn't prepared for this. I really did think my mommy would live forever. I did. Never. I know that sounds strange, but I really did. Because she was just that strong, always. But I love you with all my heart. I really do hope, we're Catholic, so we believe in the spirit. We believe the spirit has left the body. The body was the vessel, but the spirit lives on. So I said to my sister, I hope she's here today, but I also hope she's on a beach somewhere in Jamaica or, traveling. She loves to travel. So I hope her spirit is doing the things that the vessel wouldn't let her do anymore, because now she doesn't have the vessel holding her back anymore. So that is my hope for my mother. So I hope she's on a beach somewhere, soaking up the sun in Jamaica. And I said, I hope she's not worrying about us because we will miss her. But she has worried about us and cared for us all our lives, all my life, all Rosemary's life. So her spirit can be okay now because we're okay. I think she raised the women she wanted to raise. I'm trying to pass those values on to her grandkids. And I think we'll be okay, but we'll miss her, and she can visit anytime she wants. And I know that we'll see her again. And just rest in peace, Mom. We love you, and we miss you, and God bless. Bless.
Yes, that's true. Oh, you mean that going live on Tuesday? Okay, that's good. So you're gonna put it in. Yeah. Right here, right here.
That's wild time, yeah. Phony business. Another distraction.
I know. You just come and go. But with the stuff going on, we didn't want to move too much. Before we went everywhere we weren't supposed to go.
Right.
That's true. And then Steve back in. We didn't hand in no forms. Yeah, like he has it. And he said she has it. But they were strict this time. Like everywhere you went, they oh, like that. As soon as we came on the plane, they were right there, and then there was another one near the towers. Like, I filled it out already. He's like, no, I need to see it on the plane. I'm not going to get it. No?
Yeah.
No, this is in Atlanta. This is in Atlanta? Oh, was it not? No, yeah, when you came back, you're right. Yeah, when you come in. Yeah, when we landed, they were right by the plane. As soon as you come back. No, when we boarded. You're right. Yeah, when